If this is your first time here, my name is Natalie. Thank you for stopping by. I sell vintage and pre-loved designer accessories at styledunder.com. My channel is all about slow fashion, sustainability, as well as health and wellness. I drop videos every Mondays and Wednesdays, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you're into this sort of content. Before applying any saddle soap to your leather bag, you need to make sure that the area that you're working off of is clean enough so that your bag does not absorb any dirt or dust or stains that may be around the area. The first thing you're going to do is go ahead and get all of your things together to make it a little bit easier to work. Some of the things that you're going to need are going to be obviously your saddle soap. You're going to need 2 microfiber cloths, one for drying and one for cleaning, a bowl of water, and any conditioning product that you intend to use later. We're going to make our cloth damp, and then we're going to go over the area that we're going to be working out of. Once everything is damp, then we're going to add the saddle soap to our cloth and just start going in circular motion, working one small area at a time. And you will notice that right away the dirt is going to come up, which is really nice. It's an indication that you are doing the right thing and that things are working out, as they should. It's always nice to see, the results of your process as you're going along. So the way that I work is that I try to work from one area to the next, like start right to left or however you want to do it. But it's basically small clockwork or counterclockwork if you're a lefty, motion going from one area, slowly migrating to the other side. If I notice that there's some area that has a lot of dirt on it, I may give that more attention. In fact, I will give it more attention. I may go forward, then come back to it and give it more attention. The saddle soap is really great in the sense that it's been around forever, so you can trust it. You're not experimenting with something new here. This is something that millions of people have used. The second thing to be concerned with is really the technique so that you're not doing anything that may ruin your bag. We already talked about not making it too wet. The other thing is to basically go in circular motion until the saddle soap has been absorbed into the leather. Once it gets inside, it's going to get it to relax and to soften. And it's going to soften so much that you'll be able to physically see the dirt that's on your bag laying on top of the leather. It's really kind of creepy, but in a good way. Like you can see the texture of the dirt on the bag, which is something that you wouldn't be able to see when your bag is in its dry state. So you let it get in there, absorb through a lot of these circular motion, basically trying to make sure it gets inside, it gets it to relax, it gets it to soften, so that with the friction that you're giving it, you're disrupting the area, which is good because it allows it to come out. It allows the dirt to get lifted as you are disrupting it. You can see there are 2 really big watermarks, liquid marks in the center there. The edges seem to be doing a lot better, and the center is a little bit more dirty, has a lot more marks on it. So you'll notice that I will be spending a lot more time on that center just to make sure that, everything comes out of there. You'll notice that the dirt is already lifting on the bag. You know, the bag is going to start changing colors. That's dirt. That's not anything other than dirt that has been accumulated onto the leather, you know, over the years. Going in circular motion is ideal, but I understand sometimes it's not always possible. So if there are times when you're not able to, it's not the end of the world. The main thing is to make sure that that's how you start. If you want to incorporate some other moves in there that aren't necessarily circular and, you know, perfect that way, it's okay. You're still going to be able to get the result that you want. And for those of you who may be new here, this is part 2 of a video series. Part 1 was how to clean the vachetta on your bag lightly. So that one was more about the initial first clean, and this is more about a deeper clean. If you want to see how bad off this bag was, you can go back to that first video and watch that. I'm going to attach it here so that you can check that out. It had a lot of watermarks, not just at the very bottom, but all around the edges. There were watermarks pretty much everywhere. So my goal with this, with the deep clean, was to see how much, or how many rather, of the watermarks I could actually remove from the bag, how many of the stains I could remove, and how much restoration I can provide to it visually in terms of the color. So that's basically what this is about. So the way that I work is that I use that same cleaning cloth for the entire bag. I'll first focus on one area after I've dampened that area and added my saddle soap, and just slowly move on to another spot on that same cloth. You don't want to keep reusing the same dirty spot because you're basically re-adding dirt into the leather. Once you've cleaned the spot and the dirt has come out onto your cloth, what I do is that I simply move to another area that's clean. I'll add some soap to that clean spot and then move on to another area. So you'll see me stopping and going at several spots during this video. That's what I'm doing. I'm moving to another spot. If it's a little dry, I'll make it damp again. And then I'll move to my next area or keep working on the same area. So it's just a matter of making sure that you are kind of keeping tabs of how much dirt is coming off and when it's time to actually move on, so you're not basically rubbing that same dirt all over your bag. Another thing that I do is I try to give a lot of attention to areas that are really dirty while I'm lathering it up by giving it a little bit more pressure and friction as I'm rubbing it so that I can make sure I get all of it out. Especially those areas around the seams, those tend to collect a lot of dirt. You know, the areas where the zippers are at the very bottom at the center of the bag, where the logo is going to be, the stamp rather is going to be, you want to be in there vigorously to make sure that you give it as much attention as it needs. You know, it's a good idea to just mentally divide the leather surface into several areas in terms of, the severity of the dirt, what's light, what's heavy, and then treat them with the saddle soap in order based on the intensity that is needed to clean it. And I like to just progressively work around so that I can make sure I'm taking care of all of the bits and pieces, with the right amount of attention. Once you feel like the leather has lathered up enough and you've cleaned it enough and things are looking good, what I do is use a dry clean cloth to wipe off any excess soap. We want to clean it, but we don't want it to be too wet. And I know I've said that before, but I think that part is worth repeating several times, because making your bag too wet, depending on how dry it was before you start cleaning it for the first time, can cause it to crack in the drying process, especially if when you're drying it somewhere where there's high heat or drying it somewhere near the sun. You definitely don't want to do that. While you're cleaning it, it's okay for it to be too wet with regards to the lather, because what the lather does is it gets inside the fibers, it gets it to relax, it gets the dirt to lift up, so that when you're using your microfiber cloth or your sponge or your baby wipe to wipe it off, it's a lot easier for the dirt to come off of it. That part is fine. Now, if you add more water than necessary, then it becomes too soft. And if you add high heat to that after it's too soft, it's just going to create severe damage to your bag that you may not be able to undo. So that's why I like working with the microfiber cloth, because it helps me have like a secondary way of making sure I'm not adding too much water, because naturally it does not absorb water very well. So we're going to do the same thing that we just did on the bottom of the bag with the handles in that entire area. The cool thing about the handles is that immediately as I started working on it, I would notice that, the spot was lifting, and that material that I use to buff up the hardware just came right off, just by giving it that kind of pressure, attention, and circular motion around that area. So that was really neat. That one I didn't have to wait and see later. But some of the water marks on the bag, I could also see lift towards the bottom. There were some at the very bottom that I could still see, but I'm hoping that as it dries, it's going to reveal itself, more accurately. So that is all of the dirt that came off of our bag. So we did an awesome job of getting all that dirt. Remember that clean water we had at the beginning? This is kind of what it ended up looking like at the end. So yes, it was very dirty, even though you can really tell just by looking at it. The last thing we want to do is apply some conditioner. It's a really good idea to apply some kind of conditioner or polish at the end. Any kind of sealing conditioner that you can add to make sure that the leather stays soft and flexible. That's going to help prevent any kind of severe damage, cracking caused just by exposure to, life, air, the elements, or any kind of natural aging process that this leather material may be going through. So I add a lot of conditioner at the bottom, not so much on the handles because those were pretty good and I don't want to oversaturate those. After that, you want to leave it to dry. It's important that you give it a good solid 24 hours so that you can see what it looks like. But as you can see, it looks a heck of a lot better now than it did before. So I'm very pleased with how everything turned out. Of course, there's some dark spots on there still, but that's because everything still hasn't yet dried. So what do you think? If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe to my channel for videos every Mondays and Wednesdays. You can shop my pre-loved and vintage designer accessories at styledunder.com and connect with me on social media at styledunder25. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Au revoir!